Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the first edition of Chutzpah Habibti. I'm Suzanne Tempelhof. I'm a European Jew, and with me today I have Habibti, who, for security reasons, need to be anonymous, who is a Palestinian ex-Muslim who now lives in Jordan and is a Zionist. So obviously we come from two very different worlds, but we are also just two guys who like to chat about everything from the Middle East to world events to tech to AI to makeup and boys. So therefore, welcome to Shutzpah Habibti. So Habibti, you have a very interesting story. You come from Palestine, you became an ex-Muslim. I imagine that didn't happen overnight, right? And now you are very much a Zionist. So can please tell the audience in as much or as little detail as you feel comfortable with how that journey happened and where you grew up, how you ended up where you are now, what took you there.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I grew up, they taught me to hate Israel. But there was always a strange distinction that they always have. We hate the Zionists, we don't hate the Jewish people, which is ridiculous because anti Zionism is actually anti Semitism. It's a form of anti Semitism, absolutely. So I became an ex Muslim at around, say, 19 years old. When I was in Italy, it was because of weed. Honestly, weed opens my mind to become an ex-Muslim. And then I was studying psychology. So when I was around, say, 21, that's when I became a Zionist. I was like, what the hell? Decided to research all of the stuff that I was told. I was like, is that really true? Let me just research. Let me try to understand what is up with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And so that's when I became a Zionist. But my research, because, people like Tal and Sahar and Barak and so on, they were not available. They did not have YouTube channels yet and stuff. So I didn't have a lot help when it came to try to Zionize me even more and becoming a more passionate Zionist and seeing the truth more fully and stuff like that. So unfortunately, when I was around 21, when I became a Zionist and wanted peace with Israel and everything, I just couldn't get the information. It just didn't reach me. That's Palestinians, quote unquote, were being terroristic, that was, I was still looking at Al Jazeera. I still thought that was something that I should look at and stuff like that. So you can still describe me as some sort of leftist until October 7th. That's when my soul shattered into so many fucking pieces and it took me so long to put it all back together again. And I still have to put it back together again because it's crazy that such a tragedy needs to happen for a person to truly see the truth of this evil versus good war that's happening in the whole fucking world, And so that's when I became so supportive of the IDF and so much more. That's when I became in love with Israel and the Jewish people. That's when everything changed. That's when I realized, holy shit, we're actually perpetrators over here. I thought it was just oh, we're the victims and let me be forgiving and stuff like that. Let's be peaceful. But after October 7th, that's when I was like, holy fucking shit, we've been assholes. We are perpetrators and this is not okay. What is Palestinianism? What is going on? And so I delved deeper with the help of, YouTube creators and stuff. It was easier to see the truth. And so, yeah, it's just so horrible that it took a tragedy for the truth to finally be seen.
So what was it? Because I'm just trying to understand this from my European perspective. So when October 7th happened, obviously, we saw immediately what happened. But it seems like many in the Arab world still don't understand it. So the amount of brutality that went into it, and even many idiots in the West, or they understand it but don't want to. I don't know. Let's not delve into those idiots at this time. But was there a specific article, a specific a specific moment when you went what the hell?
No, it was the process of realizing what actually happened, to see that we're actually perpetrators and not victims. Because on my life, I've been told, no, we are the victims. They stand, we opened our arms to them and they just stole our homes. And so that is the narrative that was challenged after October 7th, that we are actually perpetrators, that the Jewish and Israeli people are actually so fucking amazing.
That's so wild, you know? Yeah, I mean, we grew up with very different stories on both sides, no doubt. But okay, just to backtrack a little bit, because you and me have been speaking quite a lot for like the last couple of weeks, I guess. So I know you a little bit better, but the audience doesn't. So can you tell me a bit more about like where you grew up? What made you move from there? Like, what sort of environment you grew up with? Was it like a conservative environment or liberal environment? Was your school conservative or more mixed? And how did you get to Italy? So people get more of a feeling for your journey.
Yeah, you can say that my family is quite open minded compared to the average family in Jordan. So I was very lucky in this way. There's no fear of getting killed or arranged marriages or any kind of incest or when it comes to, oh, you need to like marry your cousin or whatever. So, in many ways, I'm very lucky. And when it comes to my upbringing, for example, when it comes to the school that I went to, there are two details. In the classroom that I was in, there was one person who was my friend who actually, married her cousin. But maybe there could have been more because I wasn't close with the other people. And all the friends group was like, okay, this is weird. Like, should we tell her this is weird? Like, what the fuck should we do? So this is like to color the environments. Like, this is what was going on. Blah. Only one other person used to be, is a Zionist, and knows the truth and is so passionate about the cause and so on. And he's a Kurdish Iraqi person. And it's just so fucking crazy that out of all the fucking classroom, only two people turned out to be Zionists. And this is
So
like,
can I ask you a question about the classroom? So were you in one of the so-called refugee camps, or were you in like outside of a refugee? Because I know in Jordan there are like permanent sort of Palestinian refugee camps, right?
yeah,
And
no, we
then there are like,
we
and then
integrated. We live in a house and stuff like that. We are not part of any refugee camp or anything like that. So it's a normal school with other
okay,
Jordanians and quote unquote Palestinians, whatever.
okay, so you had like Jordanian passports and everything. You were integrated into
Yeah,
society. Okay, yeah. So that probably explains why it was less extreme than some of the other places, right? More, yeah.
sure.
I mean, I don't know much about it. I never been to Jordan, so I'm just speculating, on the wild. So tell me, how did your family come to Jordan to start with?
All I know is that my grandmother is from Jerusalem and my grandfather is from Gaza. And I think they first came to Syria and then they came to Jordan. And the way I understand it is that when the Arab armies, the Arab countries said during the war that they declared on Israel on his fucking birthday, they said, just get out and then you'll come back. Everything's going to be fine. Get out so that we kill the Jews and we win.
The Nakba, yeah.
Yeah, that's my fucking idea of the Nakba now. I really thought it was something else before, but I'm so happy to uninstall that violent program that I used to have. And so, yeah, I think that's what happens. They were part of the people who left on the order of these Arab countries and they could never come back. And so, what's so crazy is that if my ancestors were less violent, if they were more passionate about truth, if they perhaps were not so brainwashed by Islam and traumatized by Islam, then I could have actually been born in Jerusalem, for example, and what a wonderful life that would have been. But I'm
Yeah,
born in
very
Jordan.
different.
But Jordan is Palestine?
Yeah, truly. I know we weren't planning on approaching that subject so quickly, but yeah, I mean, actually, okay, you obviously know your own history better than I do since you grew up in the region. So yeah, I mean, Jordan became a country at the same time Israel became a country, more or less, when after the British Mandate splitted the British Mandate up into two countries, Israel uh, and Jordan. So technically, 70% of the Israeli mandate is Jordan. I think technically around 70% of the population in Jordan are Palestinians, right?
Even 90%.
90? Truly? No way. Wow.
That's one,
That's
I guess,
crazy.
politician who lives in America right now. That's the latest one that I got. I was surprised as well, for sure.
Yeah, but it's still occupied by like the Hashemite kingdom or whatever. You are not really from the region, right? Like they are more kind of, I don't know, Iraqi Arabs, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is that about Jordan is that sometimes you will see that there are Jordanians who don't have quote unquote Palestinian descent, are, let's say, Zionist, and they don't care about the conflict, and so it's an interesting mix. It's an interesting tension in this country.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Israel and Jordan also cooperates a lot. I mean, like for instance, Israel sells a lot of water to Jordan, and
sure,
Jordan has helped Israel at times to defend itself against like Iranian missiles and stuff. So there is cooperation, but there is like a cold cooperation, let's say, like a it's not a warm relationship, it's a cold relationship, but it's a relationship.
for sure. I truly think that Palestinianism is a mental illness, and so is Islam. So unfortunately, like, there's just too much anti-Semitism in Jordan. Like, yeah, it's a cold piece. Um,
So what was like when you grew up, like your teachers and your parents and like your friends and family and everything and the media, let's say, what was the general narrative about Israel and the Jews?
well, there's
And
well,
also history,
also what?
sorry, also like history in general, like the Middle Eastern history in general.
Well, I'll say what I know, which is Christianity, they are absolutely brainwashed and mentally ill to think that, the Palestinians, quote unquote, opened their arms to the Jewish people, and the Jewish people backstabbed them and betrayed them, and they took away their lands, and they were so violent and all of this stuff. And today they are so violent, they're psychopaths, they are, child killers, and like so on. This is the general narrative.
That's so crazy.
It really is.
I mean, it's been the opposite most of the time.
Yeah,
Really, like the number of Arab countries that Jews been prosecuted in and thrown out of and genocided in is crazy. It's
absolutely.
like, I mean, there are no Jews left in like Algeria or Iraq or whatever. I mean, maybe a few, maybe like 100, but for communities that used to be hundreds of thousands.
As they have no awareness of like the Farhud that happened in Iraq, for example, or like this Islamic colonization that happened. They just have this perception of themselves as being victims and never a perpetrator. It's a form of narcissism. Zionism is a form of narcissism, and it's just insanity. It's crazy. Ecologists all around the world need to come together to find treatments for this. This is a
Yes,
real
truly.
issue, really.
And same in the West. The West is even like more delusional. They are claiming like, Israel is a colonizer. I mean, what do you mean? The only country in the whole world who speak Hebrew are like Jews, and not even all Jews speak Hebrew. And like it's a country of like 10 million people, whereof 20% are Arabs. And it's like a tiny, tiny land, smaller than the size of like the Czech Republic. Like, how are we the colonizers? Truly
It's
explain
crazy.
it to me.
You're just coming back to
Like,
your home.
yeah. Like literally, look at how many countries in the world speak English or French or Spanish or Portuguese or Arabic. Many. Look at the size of their lands, very large. Israel, tiny, tiny, tiny.
Seriously, that's the thing. There are so many fucking Islamic countries out there, and this is why I don't believe in the Palestinian dream anymore. Before October 7th, I used to believe in the Palestinian dream, but I don't anymore. It's a selfish thing to do, to believe, to dream of a Palestine. Jordan, you need to any quote unquote Palestinian on their hero's journey, they need to realize number one, that Jordan is already Palestine, and that it's so fucking selfish to want another state, and that Israel is so beautiful and the Jewish people are so amazing. Like, just let them have more land, let them have Gaza and the West Bank, and let them all just come to Jordan because Jordan is Palestine, and just like, you know, that's how I feel about it.
Well, I don't think, well, I think when it comes to Gaza and, well, what you call the West Bank and I call Judea and Samaria, I think it's more of security concerns now because, like, most people were historically pro the two-state solution, actually. Obviously, over the time, the intifadas and so on, multiple intifadas and 7 October and other things, people have become progressively less and less pro the two-state solution in Israel because it's like the largest strip between, Judea and Samaria and or the tiniest strip is like 7 kilometers. You could walk there in a day from like the West Bank or Judea and Samaria to the Mediterranean coast, which is Israel, right? So you could literally, they could just stand on the mountains of Judea and Samaria and launch rockets straight into Tel Aviv. I mean, how could we accept that sort of security concern when history has proven us time after time again that there is never going to be any security if they have weapons because they are not going to use their autonomy. Like, they did not use it in Gaza, where they were entirely autonomous, to build up a great society, to build like the Dubai of the Levant. No, they use it to build tunnels and get weapons and train their kids to do jihad. So there is no trust anymore. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
And I know there are like trust issues from both sides. I'm not saying all Jews have behaved perfectly ever in history. Yeah, there are maybe some nutcases in Judea and Samaria who have done horrible things. I'm not denying it, right? Like history isn't black or white, right? But still, I just feel like the Arabs have so many nations. Why do they need ours? Tiny nation.
It's a selfish dream. They should educate themselves on how Palestine is actually, I mean, Jordan is actually Palestine.
Yeah. And why is the Hashemite kingdom still there, anyways? I mean, I don't dislike the Hashemites. They keep calm and order in the region, so that's a good thing, I guess.
It's like, it's so crazy how, like, no one's like, oh my God, you took our land away, you took Palestine, whatever. This is,
Yeah.
you know what the
Well,
fuck is
how about
going
the Hashemites? Blaming the Jew, blame the Hashemites, blame
It's
the
great.
Brits, blame the Hashemites, blame the Iranians. They are the one who are continuously keeping occupying Levantine land. They've occupied and nearly destroyed Lebanon and Gaza. I mean, what the fuck?
It's just insanity.
Iran.
78%. I think it's 78% of the British mandate of Palestine. That's how much Jordan actually is right now. You know?
Yeah,
And honestly, shouldn't Jordan give land to Israel? Shouldn't it be 50%, 50%? Isn't that where the whole worldwide, cry for justice should be about? About that. About how Jordan should give away land to Israel.
well,
Seriously.
well, they could start with just giving Palestinian, Jordanian citizenship. I mean, I know many have, but those who still lives in these forever camps that are now cities, effectively, not treating them as a pawn in a sort of weird game. So if they would already just neutralize all Palestinians, tell everyone who live in Judea and Samaria that, hey, we can give you Jordanian citizens and you come here with full rights and you can work and live and rent apartments and travel to wherever the Jordanian passport allow you to travel to.
They
Already,
should,
that would be a good first step, right?
listen, for sure, this is my greatest belief system. I really do believe that all the quote unquote Palestinians in Gaza and in West Bank need to come to Jordan because Jordan is Palestine. And this is a huge part of the education that needs to come to the Arab and Arabized world.
Yeah, but also well, Gaza is a bit of a separate case, right? I mean, if you look at the last name of so many people from Gaza, they're all called El something, like El Sahari, or El
Nasri,
Swabibi, not El
the,
Nasri. Yeah, like so many of them are actually from Egypt, right? And
yeah,
And Gaza used to be occupied by Egypt anyways. Literally Egypt didn't want Gaza because there was too much problems.
yeah.
So I don't know, I feel more like Egypt should just build a city for them in the Sinai. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to ethnically cleanse the country of Arabs. We have 20%, 2 million Arabs who lives in Israel, who are like brothers and sisters and cousins who serves in the IDF, are doctors and lawyers and journalists who serves in, court, in parliament, everything, right? I'm not talking about the Israeli Arabs, right? I'm talking about the like terrorists, those who don't want Israel well. But I guess, yeah, no one wants the terrorists, right?
No, like Islam is a huge problem, to be honest with you. Like, of course, there are these peaceful Sufi Muslims, for example. All they
Yeah.
want to do, mostly most of them, is just do the whirling dervish dance and write poetry to God. So it's very beautiful. It's like the mystical side of religion. So it's more free, it's more questioning, because by default, questioning is not something that's like celebrated in Islam as opposed to Judaism, where you are very much, like your questioning is celebrated. You're invited to do so.
When you're speaking about the Sufi Muslims, do you mean like the Druze or something?
No, I mean like for example the Sufi poet Rumi,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
yeah, of
kind
course.
of Sufism.
Yeah, but those are more like the Persians, right? Like, okay, now, sorry, I'm going to show my complete incompetence in religious history. So, sorry about that. So please educate me.
No, I mean I don't know much about this either. It's alright, we're all human and stuff. Like we're not historians about this particular matter. But all I know is that it's a sect of Islam as well, and many Muslims actually, demonize them as well. They don't like them because they're too peaceful. But generally, in general, there are Sufi Muslims, and it's the mystical branch of Islam. There is more room to question, there is more room to build a inner relationship with God, as opposed to like be so focused on what did exactly the Quran say and stuff like that. It's like I should be exactly this fucking straight line, and it's like that's what religion and spirituality and relationship to God is. It's more like no,
Mm,
like I want to dance the whirling dervish dance. I want to write poetry to God. I want to build this inner bridge between me and God. I want to know and experience spirituality by myself. So it's more free, it's more independent, it's more peaceful, as any mystical branch of any religion is. Mysticism will always be like that, mostly.
mm. So would you compare it to maybe Reform or Kabbalah in Judaism, for instance?
Perhaps?
Realm world. So you said your family was fairly modern and liberal, right? Not like super strict. So
Yeah.
was religion a big part of your upbringing inside of your family or your community? Like, did you regularly go to the mosque and was praying? Did you read the Quran? Was praying something like prevalent in your life?
It's only like celebrating Eid, for example, and like fasting. That was like the most important thing. Traditions, religious traditions in my family. But like, it's absolutely okay if I'm like, I don't want to fast, or I'm like, even if I say I don't want to go to the Eid celebration because I don't believe in that anymore. So like,
So, no, sorry, I interrupted you.
yeah, so I'm saying like, I'm very lucky because it's not usual in an Arab or Arabized family to experience that kind of, sometimes for many people, it's like, no, you have to fast. And if you don't, I will beat you up. Because that's also part of the reality of many people, Or like, no, you have to go to Eid celebrations and stuff like that. But no, it was never forced upon me. Everything was always so free. Like, it's always my free choice. I want to or I don't want to.
It's interesting that you use the word Arabized.
Yeah.
For people in Europe or America who never been to the Levant or North Africa or South Asia, can you describe what that means?
I'm not a scholar about this or anything, but it was Taloran who like made me realize that holy shit, I'm not an Arab really. I'm Arabized. There was this whole fucking Islamic Arab colonization that happened. And so unless I'm from Saudi Arabia or from some other select few places, then I'm not really truly an Arab. And you can see it in how like those original, you can say Arabs perceive the other, for example, quote unquote Palestinians. There is some sort of like, well, you're not really Arabs. Some of them feel like that.
Yeah, it's like a very weird kind of thing going on with the whole Arab, non-Arab thing. because for so long they were like Arabs, the land is ours, and now they're suddenly turning around saying, no, we are not Arabs, we are from the Levant. It's like very schizophrenic.
Well, so we go back to, I don't know if you know that stand-up comedian, his name is Gibrani or something, and he was like, oh, when you talk to Arabs, it's like, we're Arab, and when you talk to Persians, no, Persian,
Yeah, truly.
no,
I know.
and
I
stuff
know.
like that. So,
It was so funny. I was working in Afghanistan for a while, and I hired an American college student from who studied the Middle East to work on a project. So he came to Afghanistan for the first time, and he was wearing like this, what do you call it, the kafia, or it wasn't really the kafia, more like some sort of Arabic like turban. And everyone in the flight, all the Afghans asked him like, "Where are you from? Are you from Saudi Arabia?" Like, I mean, there are no Arabs in Afghanistan, right? And he was so shocked. He thought it was like an Arabic country. And this is a guy who fucking studies that region of the world. And like, what do you learn in school? What the hell? It's so funny. I mean, that's the weird part. Like, the most radical Islamic countries in the world aren't Arab these days. It's like Afghanistan, Pakistan, places like that that are really
yeah,
insane, right?
absolutely.
Somalia, yeah, definitely not Arabs, none of them. So yeah, it's just like a weird perception that Western people have. Oh, it's in the Middle East, it must be Arab. Like, no, it really isn't. Truly, it really isn't.
Yeah,
The only thing that's Arab is the Arab Peninsula. All of the rest is just Arabized.
absolutely.
But in Jordan, isn't there like a strong kind of Arab culture though? Because I mean, I guess the whole sort of Pan-Arabism really came politically from Nasser and Egypt during 50s and 60s. Again, I'm not a history buff, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But Jordan was kind of part of that sort of Pan-Arabic place, right?
All I know is that growing up as a Jordanian, there was so much like Arab pride, not Arabized, just Arab pride. Unfortunately, this ingrained anti-Semitism that has a strange distinction. Like, no, we're against the Zionists, we're not against the Jewish people. You would see that many of them would like befriend Jewish anti-Zionists and stuff. But they can't
Yeah.
realize these are self-hating Jews. The anti-Zionist Jews are self-hating Jews.
Oh,
And
they're a
so,
special level of nutcase and weird and stupid, yeah.
yeah, and so like when Jordanians, for example, like connect with the Jewish community, they usually connect with these people. And they're like, wow, these people are amazing and stuff like that. And they can't realize that these are actually self-hating Jews.
Oh yeah, I know too many of them, unfortunately,
Yeah,
including my own family and, childhood friends.
that's hard.
Yeah, they are so lost. Yeah, they have just like internalized trauma and they just have such a need and drive to be accepted by their environment. So they will
Absolutely.
just do anything to, I don't know.
It's a protective mechanism. Like they feel this is the best way to feel safe in this world, in this traumatic world. And so I understand. I'm not like judgmental or anything. That's like it breaks my soul, it breaks my heart. It's not all right. Their destiny is to be reunited with Israel, the
Yeah,
best country in the world.
but there are even these like weird Jews within Israel, the Haredims, the ultra Orthodox. Well, not all the ultra Orthodox, but there's a like specific part of them.
Nature
Sorry?
Karta or something?
Yeah, that's what like the sort of weird New York branch is called. I'm not sure it's exactly the same one in Israel. It's especially centered around a city outside of Jerusalem. They are very weird. They say that they are anti-Zionist, refuse to serve in the IDF, and it's a big problem in Israel because it's a small country, a small population, right? So everyone needs to serve because we are constantly attacked by everyone around us.
Absolutely. And so people from all around the fucking world need to join in and become IDF soldiers. Because this is a war
Yeah,
between good and evil.
exactly. They're not very big, like 10, 15%, but that's still a lot, right? Especially when, well, the Arabs. don't have to serve in the IDF, and they are like 20% of the population. And then you added the Haredims, which are like another 10, 15% of the population. It's a big problem. I think everyone who's an Israeli citizen, regardless if they are Arab, Muslim, Christian, or Haredim, they should serve.
Absolutely. And it's like the future that I envision for Israel is that it becomes a state, not only, definitely, it needs to still become a majority Jewish state. It still needs to maintain that security. But like, it also needs to be a state for like its allies, for the
Hmm,
most part its allies to come home as well. Because, like,
absolutely.
honestly, I have a homesickness towards Israel. I don't dream of a Palestine because that's such a selfish dream. I'm mentally healthy. I'm a psychologist. I'm not going to dream that dream. But I do have this homesickness towards Israel for sure. And I wish that I woke up like way back and somehow like because of when we were talking about the school stuff, one of the students, actually her dad like moved with her and the family to Israel. He was a politician and stuff like that. And so that's also an interesting like color to look at when it comes to like what was part of that classroom. And so when she came back, though, no one was like, oh, what the fuck, you asshole, or I'm not going to talk to you anymore, or anything like that. They were actually very friendly. They're like, okay, I don't agree with that, but it's like, you're still my friend. It's okay.
Wow, that's actually better than I expected. I
Yeah,
thought, but yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not from Israel either. I was born in Sweden and I'm half French, half Polish. And I lived around the world, right? But I also feel this need to come home
absolutely.
in the same way. Like the longing for Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's
Well,
beautiful.
hopefully next year in Jerusalem, we'll
It's
be
like,
having this conversation IRL or in Tel Aviv or in, wherever on the promised land. Yeah. I mean, by the end of the day, it's the only place we can be safe. So
yeah,
even if literally everyone is trying to kill us there, but still, everyone is trying to kill us everywhere anyway. So
we have
that
the
doesn't make
Iron Dome, the amazing Iron Dome. And if I were to like study everything all over again to get a bachelor's degree early on in my life and stuff like that, I would definitely want to learn how to make the Iron Dome more effective. That would make me want to like have more peaceful dreams when I sleep. Like when I sleep, like it would make me happier if I was a person who actually did that. But unfortunately, I woke up later in life.
What did you study to start with?
In the beginning, it was business, and then I changed to psychology, and then coding. Yeah,
I feel like I just met a soulmate. We have so much in common, everything from interest in politics to religion to app coding stuff that are maybe a little bit more sensitive to YouTube or whatever, but like psychedelics and how to solve psychological problems, civilizational wide psychological problems with some substances. So, yeah.
what do you think I shouldn't mention the ayahuasca ceremonies that are happening? Yeah, sorry to. Yeah, I think the plants are here for a purpose. I don't think us as humans can accomplish enlightenment or like become better people just by being disconnected from plants. I think plants are here to teach us lessons and make us better people. And I just find it so fascinating that there are these ayahuasca ceremonies happening between quote unquote Palestinians and Israelis in Israel.
Are they? Really?
Yes, and they are making these Palestinians fall in love with Jewish culture. They're making them like disregards their Muslim upbringing or like their Palestinian identity and think of themselves more as humans. And it's like it creates this fascination towards like, holy shit, these Jewish people, this is interesting. Wow, this music. Wow, this is so amazing. It has so much potential. Like I wish I can be like some sort of a psychologist, guiding these people. First, I would like to set myself, as a participant. That would be amazing. And
Yeah,
then
me
like,
too, actually. I would love to be a
right?
participant too. Yeah.
So
Let's do it together. Yeah, for sure.
I would
100%.
say, like, honestly, like, I'm gonna say something so controversial, but it's like,
Mhm.
let's make, at least for me, I want to make all Palestinianism illegal, and I want all the mosques to turn into ayahuasca ceremonies.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I still think, Israel is a tolerant society and we respect all religions and all minorities, and we should stay like that. So I don't want to make any place of worship illegal.
It's just
But
like
I,
my realistic way of thinking. Like, if I were to create a world, that's how I would want to create the world. But it's definitely irrational and it's not going to work and blah, 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 for sure.
no, I just mean it's not the world I would like to live in myself. I like religious diversity. I like to speak with Buddhist or Hindu or a Christian or anything else because you know Baha'i, the sort of
It's
weird
fun.
religion that's centered in Israel. So I mean, I see it as spiritual platforms, philosophical and a spiritual platform. I also see it as godly. I don't only see it as spiritual or philosophical platforms. I mean, for me, it's religious too. I Yeah, but I like to sit down and speak with others and hear their faith and hear their philosophy and how they come to certain conclusions, because it enriches, even if it's not my belief, it enriches me to hear about like the way they come to certain things and how they perceive certain things, right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I want plurality in society, right? But yeah, I still want Israel to be the dominant religion in Israel because it's the only tiny Jewish land. So if it's dominant Muslim, we're gonna become like dhimmis and be prosecuted again, like we've been everywhere else in the Muslim world, right? So like maybe with the exception of Morocco, maybe. So you saw yourself as a Muslim, like did you believe in Allah and Muhammad?
To be completely honest with you, when I was like 13, I went to my dad and I said, I want to defend Palestine. I want to die for Palestine.
Oh
Maybe
my God.
I don't know how young I was. Maybe I was 10 actually. I don't know really. I must have
You
been
wanted to
younger.
martyr it, really?
Yeah, but at the same time, there was this paradox because I didn't have enough information about what it meant. Because in my head, it meant like, oh, I'm going to be part of this army and it's just two armies fighting together and stuff like that. Because, like I said before, like it took all the way until October 7th for me to realize, oh my God, they're exploding themselves. They are being so terroristic. What the fuck is this? And so, like, I actually did not receive that piece of information until October 7th, around that period of time. And
This
so,
is
like, when I saw there, it was like more like, I want to be part of the army defending Palestine against Israel, and I want to die for this cause. I don't know how old
so
I
how did
was. I don't know.
so how did your parents react? What did they say? Like, were
It
they
was
like, yeah, go team, or were they like, wow, stuff are more nuanced than that?
No, I think it was more like go team.
Wow,
But at the same
holy
time,
shit.
he did not want me to do it because he was
Right.
preferred to see other people do it and not me.
They wanted you alive, yeah. They didn't, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that's the paradox about my family. Like, I'm so thankful for my family because that's what they believe in, just like as a kid, that's what I thought it was about. For them, they know everything that's going on, but they still think that October 7th was not a good thing, for example, and that, unfortunately, they still believe that Israel and Jewish people took away their land and betrayed them after they were so open hearted and stuff. So they still believe in that. They probably, like in their head, as an approximation, they believe in this war between Israelis and Palestinians, but without civilian casualties, like minimization of civilian casualties. So they don't celebrate October 7th or anything like that, which is good because it would be so hard to live in a family where that was celebrated.
So yeah, it's more like an intellectual cause or something for them, not like go and blow yourself up type of cause. I grew up in a very different environment, but I can draw maybe a tiny bit of parallel to it because so I grew up in Sweden, which at the time was extremely socialist, and my parents were communist, or radical socialist, near communist at least, even though they didn't always live like it. But that's what they sort of preached. And until I was sort of in my late teens, I actually did believe in that doctrine. And it wasn't until I sort of came out of that environment a little bit, like I went to south of France, I started a company. I saw how retarded the bureaucracy to set up a company was. And also I started to interact with people. France was a lot less socialist than Sweden at that point. Now it's kind of the reverse, unfortunately. But I started to just interact with people from more different communities and stuff. So from sort of the age of 16 to 20, I progressively changed my mind about it, right? And I became pro-West, pro-America, pro-capitalism, all of those things.
That's a huge accomplishment. I'm so glad you did that.
So yeah, it's not like religious indoctrination. Well, it was kind of because it was like atheism indoctrination. Like we never spoke about religion. So it was like atheism indoctrination. So that too was a journey to become religious, actually. So it's like, I guess we got the opposite ways, actually.
Yeah. It's like I don't have anything against atheism, of course. Like I love to see the different expressions of religion and non-religiousness all around me. I want people to explore their inner being and to explore their spirituality safely and freely and to even declare that they want to be an atheist. You know, like right now, I'm a spiritual person. I believe in the universe and stuff. I'm fascinated by Judaism, for example, and Hinduism, for example. But it's like, I appreciate atheists, you know, they are so wonderful. It's also a, a great expression of human life, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I have a bit of a problem with atheists actually, because I grew up in atheist country and my parents sort of forced me into atheism. I mean, they never forced me. They said like, they were intellectuals. They said like, you can believe whatever you want to believe, right? They never forced me to any form of belief, but it was always sort of applied or implied rather that religious person was stupid. And if you were religious, you were stupid. So it was kind of because they saw themselves as intellectual and advanced and scientists. So they resented anything that had to do with faith. I felt like robbed of that experience as a kid. When I became religious, I mean, I became religious in a kind of religious light way, right? I never been like orthodox or anything like that, right? But I mean, they weren't opposed to it, but they were kind of mocking it gently.
That must have been ours for sure.
Well,
It's
it
like,
was
what's him?
just like,
Yeah,
I just felt like it would have been nice to grow up more in a Jewish community, actually, because we were immigrants, refugees, actually. Well, not me personally, but my father was a refugee and my mother moved to be with him. They were from two different countries. I was randomly born in Sweden and they were telling me, no, you're Swedish and you're Swedish and only Swedish, which I very clearly was not. Right. So I just felt that it would have been nice to have a bit more of a French or Jewish community around me
absolutely.
rather than pretending to be Swedish, which Swede of what I was. It was only like in their head I was Swedish, but in my own head I wasn't, and in society's head I wasn't either. It was just like a weird disconnect, right?
Yeah, like, you're like feeling into and healing the family trauma. So you're like such an amazing Jewish person because you're not just when it comes to traumatic narratives, you're not just repeating them, you're just saying, no, this is what I believe in and it's different. And you're doing such an amazing job at it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think they were evil. They did what they thought were right, and for them it was right. But
They were
yeah,
that's something about families, you know? Everyone, they just try their best to be the best people that they can be.
yeah.
But it's like the younger generations, it's our role and responsibility to heal the trauma and express something different.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to be like our parents, right? We can be whatever we want. If we're intentional about it, we will. The stars will align. All links below. Subscribe to my Substack. Buy my book.